Hello everyone, it's Dr. Ida Khan. Welcome back to my channel Medical's Guide, and in this video we are going to be discussing about all the different steps of rhythm analysis. So let's take a look at the following steps. First of all, we have discussed about the calculate rate step. So this step has been discussed in a great detail in the second part of this ECG interpretation video, and you can take a look at that video in which we have discussed all the different methods for calculation of the heart rate, and the link to this video will be provided in the description box below. Now the other steps are determine regularity, and all of these steps from the step number 2 will be discussed in this video. Third step is to assess the P waves, then determine the PR interval, and then determine the QRS duration. So this was the step number 1 that we have discussed in the second part of this video, and now we'll be continuing from the step number 2, that is determine regularity. Okay, so let's take a look at the step number 2, that is to determine regularity. So here we are to look at the RR distances using the caliper or markings on a ECG paper via the pen. And here we are to look that whether these distances are consistent, it means equal, are they equidistant apart. So by that we mean that they are equal or they are regular. And if they are not regular, so there can be different categories. They can be occasionally irregular, regularly irregular, or irregularly irregular. What do I mean by these terminologies? Occasionally irregular means that the irregularities in the rhythm occur intermittently, that is, off and on, but not consistently. The heart rhythm is mostly regular, but there are occasional deviations. Then regularly irregular. This refers to a pattern of irregularity that follows a predictable or repeating cycle. For example, a regularly irregular rhythm might have a consistent pattern of irregular intervals. Or irregularly irregular, this describes a rhythm where there is no discernible pattern or predictability in the irregularities. The intervals between the beats are inconsistent and do not follow any regular sequence. Now, can you determine the regularity in the ECG shown here? So yes, you're right, this is a regular ECG. As the distances between the R waves is consistent, it is equal, or you can say equidistant apart. Now let's move to the third step, and that is assess the P waves. So here we have to think of the answers to the following questions. Number 1, are there P waves? Do the P waves all look alike? Do the P waves occur at a regular rate? Is there one P wave before each QRS? So what's your interpretation for the following ECG? There are P waves and they all look alike and they are occurring at a regular interval, as well as there is one P wave before each QRS. So the interpretation is that these are the normal P waves with one P wave for every QRS. Now moving to the step number 4, that is to determine PR interval. Normally the PR interval has a duration of 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, which means 3 to 5 boxes. So now what do you interpret? So yes, you're right that it is a normal PR interval as it has a duration of 0.12 seconds that is calculated from the number of boxes, that is 3 boxes it has. Now let's move to the last step, and that is the step number 5, which is QRS duration. Normally the QRS is of 0.04 to 0.12 seconds duration. That means it is of 1 to 3 boxes. So what's your interpretation in this case? So as you can see that the QRS in this given ECG is comprised of 2 small boxes, so it becomes 0.08 seconds. That means it is a normal QRS complex. Let's now talk about the basics of calculation of the duration from the number of small boxes. So I have compiled all of these calculations for you so that it may become easier for you to interpret any ECG. Okay, but first thing first, we need to understand what are the different speeds at which the ECG paper moves, and then we'll come back to these basics. So here you can see this is the ECG, and this is showing the one ECG that is moving at a speed of 25 mm per second, while the other one is moving at a speed of 50 mm per second. The paper speed of 25 mm per second, commonly used elsewhere, presents more heartbeats per sheet as shown in the image here. At the paper speed of 50 mm per second, a small square, that is 1 mm square, represents 20 milliseconds, and the larger one, that is 5 into 5 millimeters square, covers 0.1 second, that is 100 millisecond. And the total length of the ECG paper is 5 centimeter, that is 50 millimeter, of course 1 second. So ECG waves in this case will be measured accordingly. And all the calculations and normal durations presented in this video are according to the speed of 25 millimeter per second. So in a standard ECG speed of 25 millimeter per second, as you know that the one large box is equals to 0.2 seconds, while one small box is equals to 0.04 seconds. So as one small box is equals to 0.04 seconds, which means that 2 into 0.04 makes 0.08, that is 2 small boxes equals to 0.08, and similarly you will multiply the different numbers of the small boxes with the 0.04 to get your required answer. And remember these calculations as well whenever you are calculating the heart rate, that a 3-second strip is equals to 15 large boxes. So the 6-second strip would be equals to 30 large boxes. And above are the normal values for the P wave, PR interval, and the QRS complexes. So I have compiled all of these values here so that it's easier for you to remember all of the normal values. Okay, so let's interpret this given ECG. So here you can see that this is a ECG strip having 30 large boxes, which represents 6-second strip. And as you know that 6 into 10 makes 60 seconds. So here we have to calculate number of the R waves. So these are 9, and 9 into 10 makes 90. So the heart rate is 90. It's 90 to 95 ppm, 95 by the other methods of calculating heart rate. Now the regularity, it is a regular pattern, and the P waves are normal. Then the PR interval is 0.12 seconds as it has 3 boxes. QRS duration is 0.08 seconds because it contains 2 boxes, the small boxes. So what is your interpretation? This is a normal sinus rhythm. Now let's take a look at the values of the NSR parameters, that is the normal sinus rhythm parameters. So the normal values are, the heart rate is from 60 to 100 bpm. This is regular, P waves are normal, PR interval is from 0.12 seconds to 0.20 seconds. QRS duration is from 0.04 to 0.12 seconds. And if there is any deviation from above, this can be sinus tachycardia, sinus bradycardia, or an arrhythmia. Okay, so today we have discussed about all the different steps for evaluating the rhythm, as well as we have discussed in a great detail about the normal sinus rhythm, the normal values for the normal sinus rhythm, and in the next video we'll be discussing about all the abnormal rhythms and their different characteristics. So that's it from my side. Stay tuned for the next part, and if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and thanks for watching.